Welcome to the Published and Paid podcast, where we share book, business, leadership, and life lessons in 20 minutes or less to help you build a thought leadership brand and business. My name is Jasmine Womack. I'm a former middle school language arts teacher turned seven-figure entrepreneur, and I am glad that you are here. Let's get started. Welcome back to the Published and Paid podcast. My name is Jasmine Womack, and I'm your monetization strategist. And this is where we talk about all things monetization, monetizing your expertise through writing and self-publishing books, signature talks, creating high-end coaching programs, courses, consultant offers, digital products, and more. Super excited. Of course, faith and family and more. So I'm super excited to be back for this episode. And in today's episode, I'm sharing with you how I plan my year for success. I've always been a planning type of person. On the DISC assessment, I'm a high D and a high C. So I am one of those people. I pay attention to details. I follow plans. I'm a details person, probably to the T, but I feel the most prepared when I have plans to follow. So I have always planned, but as my business has grown and I've also grown in my leadership, I've also realized how essential having an annual plan for my life and for my business is for everyone else that's with me. And so in today's episode, we're primarily going to be focusing on the importance of creating a business, an annual business plan. We'll probably come back on another episode and do a life planning episode, but having a business plan helps to guide you. It helps to direct you. It helps to remind you of what you should be focused on. And it also serves as a guide to your team as well, because now everyone has a document and they know where you're headed. They know where you've been and they know where you headed. So I'm super excited about this particular episode. I just feel like planning is extremely important, and I'm going to be sharing with you strategies. I'm going to be sharing with you tools as well as, mindset elevation so that you can have a phenomenal year, right? And so step one in your planning is to really make sure that you reflect on the previous year. So in case you didn't go back and listen to the previous episode where I did the 2025 recap, that was my podcast version of a reflection on the previous year. And in this episode, I'm going to share with you what that looks like on paper. What does it look like on paper to actually reflect on the previous year? In order to know where you're going, you have to know where you've been. And in order for you to hit different goals and different milestones, you have to know and understand what you're building off of. You've got to understand your weak parts. You've got to understand your strengths so you can know where you might need some additional reinforcement and, where you may be able to just really skyrocket from. And so you've got to take note of your wins. You've got to take note of your challenges, and you've got to ask yourself, what worked? What felt good? What didn't work? What in my business can be improved? And then you've got to sit down and really give yourself some time and space to flesh this out. So I do recommend that when you are planning your year, you want to give yourself a minimum of one day, but you might want to give yourself a couple of days, like a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. For me, I don't, because of the demands of my family right now, and because of how everything fell with the doctoral requirements and all that, I didn't go out the annual plan. End of this year, I might do a staycation or something, but I personally wouldn't do more than 2 days of a staycation to really plan. But because of the level of intensity of this, you might need to take more than one day to do this. Okay. So I just want to preface this. You're going to need some time to get in the weeds of your mind and to get in the weeds of the data so that you can make some decisions on what you need to do and how you need to do it. All right. So after I reflect on the previous year and ask myself these questions, and not just ask myself the questions and answer them in my head, I literally map it out on a Google Doc. I literally do my whole entire annual planning in a Google Doc. The next thing that I do is I calendar personal dates. So, and you can do this in a Google Doc where you look at all of the dates and put them in a Google Doc. So then you or one of your team members or VA can go in and put these dates in your calendar. But I have something called the Big Ass Calendar. It's something that I started using about 2 years ago. They've got a really, really big one that fits on the wall, but it's super huge and it's too big for my liking. So they actually have like a spiral notebook type size that I love. And I was able to sit on the sofa one afternoon, pull up the kids' schools calendars, pull up, my doctor's appointments, the kids' dentist appointments, and go through this whole entire, calendar notebook and plug in these dates. So one of the first things that I do is that I calendar my personal dates, starting with the days that the kids are out of school, starting with their winter breaks, digital learning days, early dismissal days, days that they are out like Thanksgiving break, summer break, all of those breaks. Because what I don't want to do is be busy at work and now they're at home all day and I'm not spending time with them. And so I start with that, and then I will plug in like my anniversary, my birthdays, important dates like that. So you want to start out looking at what are your personal responsibilities. Plug in your hair appointments, plug in your dentist appointments, plug in your doctor's appointments. Like I know that when I get my hair braided, I'm going to keep my braids for anywhere for about 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks. Then I'm going to take them out. Then I'm going to go to the hairstylist, get my hair washed, deep conditioned, trimmed, all the things. Like I know it's just like if I'm going to get personal grooming, I know I'm going to get certain things done on schedule every 3 weeks. So when you have your schedules and you know your cycles, you can say, even though you might not necessarily pinpoint a day, you can say this week I'm going to, and you can even put a tentative date. This is when I'm going to go get my brows done. This is when I'm going to go to the nail shop, for this month. This is when I'm going to, go get a massage. This is when I'm going to do this or that. Like, when you know your cycles, you can know how to better plan. And the thing about it is that we typically will tend to keep all these things in our heads, but the key is to get everything down on paper. So that way, you know what you need to do for yourself. You know what you need to do for your family. Those of you all, who have children, spouse, or family members who depend on you. So I start out with those personal dates and I plug all of those in. And then I build the business around the personal dates. Like from those personal dates, I'm able to say, okay, these are the days I'm going to be out of office. These are the days I'm going to take a vacation for myself. These are the days that I'm going to need this because I can see what the demands are going to be personally. And then I can build the business events around that. And so based on the personal dates and based on the times that I'm going to need personally for my family, for vacations, out of school and all of that, then I can come in and calendar our office closure dates, and I can calendar our business dates. Like when are the dates that we're going to start running ads for something? When are the dates when we're going to do a launch? When are the dates when we're going to do our new client onboarding calls? Like, what does that look like? And let's go ahead and calendar it. So now the team knows what we're doing. What are the dates for our quarterly reviews? What are the dates for our team vacations? What are the dates for our team annual trip, which is something that I want to do? Like, what would be those tentative dates? When are the dates going to be for the mastermind retreat? When are the dates going to be for, create your own stage live? When are the dates going to be for this in this intensive? When are the dates going to be for this group VIP day? Now that you know when how your personal things fall, now you can come in and build the business out around it. And that's what's going to show you what you have capacity to do. Like if you want to take on a whole bunch of one-on-one clients and you want to launch this group coaching program, now you have all these dates in. The dates might actually show, you know what? This is going to feel like a lot. This is going to be a lot. So instead of putting more on your plate, it can be an indicator on whether or not you have the space and capacity to do the things that you want to do, the things that you think you want to do at the level you want to do them, or whether or not you just need to scale what you're doing and doing in a way that's not going to require your effort and energy all the time. This is one of the reasons why I started changing one of my offers, because it required too much of me all the time. And I'm like, yeah, okay, this is a $35,000 program, but do I have the capacity to do all of these things all the time for all these people? And is that what I want my next year to look like? There are seasons where you have the capacity and there are seasons where you don't. Like for me, my priority is finishing my dissertation. So everything has to support that, right? And so when you calendar the personal dates and then you calendar the business dates and your office closings and you calendar your events, your virtual events, your challenges, you calendar every single thing that you're going to do. Now you have a good picture of what the upcoming year is going to look like from a time capacity and energetic capacity. All right. And so after that, then I do my strategic planning. So this is why this process really takes days. I would honestly say give yourself about a week, maybe even 2 to do this. Like for me to do it on the level that I want to do it, I know that I'm not going to go hold myself up in a hotel. I'm giving myself 2 weeks to get my plan done. And like right now at the time of this recording, it's the top of January. I'm giving myself until January 15th to finish this plan. And if I finish it in totality, now my team has a whole blueprint that they can use to carry on throughout the year. I'm not tripping about it not being done by January 1st. It's going to be done by January 15th. And so after you do all the calendaring, then I do the strategic planning. So if you're not already taking notes, you might want to just come back and listen to this because this is how I plan. And this is, well, in my published and paid mastermind, I take our mastermind clients through this process. We actually do it together. We lay the skeleton out together, right? And then they go and finish it on their own. So there are some details that I'm just not able to go all the way in because this is a podcast, but I can give you an overview of what that process looks like. So in strategic planning, this is where we get into the data. So in order for the strategic planning to be successful, you've got to have access to your data, which means that you need to be using platforms that's going to give you the data that you need so that you can make data-driven decisions. So the first thing that we do in our strategic planning is we revisit the mission, the vision, and the values of the company to determine whether or not what we've already established aligns or whether or not it needs to change moving forward. Then I do a very detailed market analysis. I do an extremely detailed market analysis. And so this market analysis, I'm looking at strengths and I'm literally listing them out bullet point by bullet point. What are the strengths of the business in the past year? What are the weaknesses and internal challenges that we faced within the past year, right? And I list all of them out and I get really granular. This was the issue with this. We faced this, we faced this. Like, because these are areas in which we need to improve, right? I talk about the opportunities. What are our opportunities for growth? What are the opportunities for growth and what are the threats? What are the threats that we're facing? Like, I'm looking back right now as I am sharing this with you. I'm looking back at my 2025 strategic plan because I'm currently working on the 2026 plan. I literally have as a threat that the global recession and current economic downturn is a threat and we're going to have to make adjustments. I have that as a threat. So I came into 2025 keeping it at the top of my forefront, knowing that I was going to make some adjustments. And what did I do? I talked about in the last episode, 2025 was all about adjusting. And not only did we come out better than we did in 2024, I came out less stressed, more rested, and having more profit. But that's because I took myself through this process of literally reviewing the ins and outs of the company on a granular level. And I literally have here, my current audience is impacted by the political administration and increase in prices. And so people don't have as much discretionary income as they had in previous years. That is a threat to a business. Do you know how many people went out of business this year because of this and because they didn't sit down to consider this a threat and to think about how they were going to make adjustments? It goes back to what I was sharing. It goes back to what I was sharing in the previous episode, how a lot of people were just rigid, and they were rigid to doing business in the way that they were doing business, and they weren't willing to make adjustments. And their unwillingness to make adjustments or to even see how they could make adjustments put them out of business. You got to understand that in business, you're going to have to make adjustments. It's not set it and forget it. I never have to revisit it. No, you need to revisit your business every single year. And you need to look at your strengths, your weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats. And I also looked at what differentiates me from my competitors. And then from there, I set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound goals. And then based on those goals, I set the top 5 goals for the company. And for each goal had an objective with timelines and key performance indicators. Like, how are we going to know that we were successful with that? So when you get this granular, it's extreme. It takes time. And it takes you time to go into detail, right? Now, my clients in the Published and Paid Mastermind, because this is where we do the strategic planning, the mastermind is for thought leaders who are ready to scale their online education businesses through ads and virtual and in-person events. And so because many of our mastermind members are almost at 6 figures or they're making multiple 6 figures, we get down into the nitty gritty of the business. And so I'll actually be giving them my personal template for strategic planning, because this isn't really something that you can chat GPT. You cannot chat GPT this. Give me one. Yes, Jair. Hey guys, give me 1 second, because I have a guest and I am recording this podcast and there's no way for me to pause this. So how can I help you?
Me and Hunter cleaned the dishes. We didn't clean the dishes, but we cleaned the kitchen counters.
Okay, that's so good.
And we put up all this stuff on the counter.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And I did a science experiment in my room. I put soap, hot Cheeto stuff, and hot water and cold water with ice.
What did you find?
He didn't do anything. But I actually did teach him a real experiment. Yeah. So you had to pour water in a bowl, put pepper, and then you can put some soap. And if you dip your finger into the pepper, all the pepper will go away from your finger.
Oh, wow.
Because of the soap.
Okay.
And that's also
I love that you guys are.
And I mixed something, and I mixed my project up, and now it's in the freezer for we're trying to. And he said he was trying to make some soap,
Okay.
He mixed some soap in it, and now he's trying to freeze it that way you can actually use it as soap.
Okay. Well, I think you got to have some different chemicals for soap, but we can talk about that when I finish, okay? Because we can make some soap, all right? I'm proud of you guys. Thank you for cleaning up. All right. Thanks, Hunter. All right. Make sure you close the door back, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Don't you just love that? I didn't know what they were about to come in here and say. I thought my son was about to come in here and tattletale a little bit or ask for something. But I love the fact that they write books together. They do science experiments. So you guys have an opportunity to hear that, because I'm not editing this. I just want to get this out to you guys. All right. So, hey, but that's the joys of doing business at home. All right. So let's get back into it. So after when you identify the key performance indicators, the key to you have to identify what the goal is, what the timeline is, like how often are you going to work or measure this KPI, who is responsible for doing it, and what is the specific strategy that you're going to implement in order to reach that goal. So you've got to look at it at a very granular level. And then you have to go look at your financial projections, your strategies. All right. I take it a step further. I do a 3-year vision. Where do I want the company to be in 3 years? I do a 1-year goal, and then I do a 90-day sprint. So where do I want the company to be in 3 years? Where do we want to be at the end of this year? And what is our 90-day sprint that we're going to go towards? Like, what are we going to do what are the top 5 things that we're going to focus on in the next 90 days to move the needle forward? So that's just the strategic planning part. Then we do a data dive. Data dive, this is where you have to look at your email data. Like, what was your email open rates? What was your email subscribers? Then you look at, if you have a podcast, you can look at how many episodes you published, how many downloads you got, and which were your most popular episodes by the number of downloads that you received. So I like to map all that out, and then I look at the revenue. Like, what is the amount of revenue that I got from PayPal, from QuickBooks, from Kajabi? How much did we get back in refunds? What was our multi-pay options looking like? What was the subscriptions looking like? What were the one-time payments looking like? Like, this is why you have to have systems that will give you a lot of this information. I use Kajabi, so Kajabi gives me all of this information. Now, yes, you got to go retrieve it, but it does give you all this information. And you just take it and put it into a spreadsheet, or for me, I just like creating my own tables in Google Docs, because that it's just easier for me, especially when you can create the tabs and all that. And then I do an organizational chart for that year. So what does the organizational chart currently look like? What do we want it to look like by the end of the year? Right? And so in your organizational chart, you want to make sure that you map out your administration, your marketing, your media. Like if you hire photographers, videographers, if you hire marketing support, this can be graphic designers, this can be ads agencies, marketing specialists, your finance team, like anybody or whatever tools that you're using to help balance your finances. If you are coaching and you have client support, any vendors that you use, like all of that's your team. Your team isn't just the people that you work in and day out. Your team is everybody that you're going to be working with throughout the year to help run your business. And then you also want to look at your tech stack. When we talk about a tech stack, that's what we're talking about. What are the technological tools that you're using for the year? How much does it cost you every single year? You need to know this because you need to do an annual evaluation of your tech stack. Okay, because you need to see how can you, like, even just today, my new online business manager identified that we can get rid of Slack because we use ClickUp for project management. ClickUp allows chats just like Slack does. ClickUp allows calls and video calls. So we can do everything in ClickUp that we were originally doing in Slack. So there's no reason for us to have Slack. Now we can have all of our project management and our communication all in one place instead of being in between different apps. Love it. I said, hey, you just saved us hundreds of dollars for the year because I can get rid of Slack. Probably thousands because it's usually $100 and something per user. So it's like you save us about $1,000, about anywhere from $1,000 to $1,200 this year just from identifying that we can use this tool. Like both of these tools do the same things, but we can just use this one and let the other one go. So you need to look at your tech stack and get rid of any tools. Like I probably get rid of Calendly because I've been using Google Business Suite for a lot of things. And Google Business Suite now allows you to sign contracts. It also allows you to set up a calendar where people can schedule. So it's like, if I have that, what do I need Calendly for? What do I need it for? Like, honestly. So everything, we can do it in Google and use what we already have instead of paying extra for this. That's just how I look at it. Instead of using ad event, we can just use Calendly and stick with our text message marketing for reminders. Or we can use Kajabi for our clients. So you want to look at your tech stack and the tech that you're paying for and using, and look at what can you get rid of? What services or features do the tech platforms that you're already using, do they offer? And where are you, like what platforms are offering a duplicate service and you really don't need that? It's going to help you save money. All right. And then you want to do what's called your revenue mapping. Like I said, this is a very intense process. This is why I said give yourself several weeks to do this if you want to do it effectively. I'm sharing with you all how we built $1 million businesses, and you have to do the planning. So the revenue mapping helps you to map out what you're going to sell, how much you're going to sell it for, and how many people you need in order to hit your goal. I would advise you to sell one thing for a whole entire year until you get amazing at selling it and until you've hit at least $1 million in revenue. Like, that's one reason why I'm not selling a whole bunch of things this year. I have one launch that I'm doing. Even though I have 3 launches that I've developed, I've got one launch that I'm running consistently. I've got one core program that I'm focusing on. I have one digital product and one book that I'm going to continue to sell while I am finishing up my dissertation. That's it. And I got one, well, actually, because we are at a certain level on Instagram, and I have 2 platforms I'm focusing on. I'm not all over the place. A lot of times we will bring more stress on ourselves by trying to do all the things or trying to sell too much. And my question is, if you're not at least $50,000 to $80,000 a month in selling one item, why are you trying to sell 3 and 4? Just sell that one and sell it over and over and over again, and get really, really good at selling it over and over and over again, and get really, really great at delivering it, and then scale it up with ads. Why are you putting more stress on yourself? You know, this is a side note. This is one of the reasons why, like, I use Kajabi, but a lot of people have a problem with Kajabi because on their lowest plan, you get one product. But like I explained it to the members in my inner circle program, I said, they're giving you one product because you need to get really good at selling that one product. If you're not selling the one product, why are you trying to create 10? This is where confusion and overwhelm gets in. So revenue map. Your revenue mapping should be fairly easy. If you focus on one core lead magnet, if you focus on, you know, one book that you're selling, if you focus on one offer, and your enrollment goes from that offer. All right. Then you need to look at your marketing brief. Like, what are those dates? You need to like take some time to map out what your marketing process is going to look like for the year. If you're going to do any virtual or in-person events, you need to just take some time to map out what that looks like. And then if you're doing live streams, if you're doing podcast content, take some time and map out what you're going to be talking about every single week. Like, one of the things I did today, I mapped out my podcast episodes by title for the whole entire year, and I created a table that have the episode number, the topic, and the anticipated release date. And it took me probably about an hour, but I didn't use ChatGPT for this. I developed my podcast episodes based off of the questions that people ask me. Okay. I took questions from old challenges that we've done. I took questions from live events, from the book and business makeovers. I have a stack of book and business makeovers from the December event. Every single year, I always keep the book and business makeovers, and I just repurpose that content into podcast content. Because that way, I'm not relying on ChatGPT. I'm not making things up. I'm actually looking at the data from things that people have submitted. This is what we have questions about, and I turn those into podcast episodes. So I went into my archives and I use all that content to create podcast episode topics literally for the next year. And I just put it all in my strategic planning document. And I have a Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4 tab. That's how I did it. So this is how I do my strategic planning. And it's a very granular process. I gave you an overview here, but if you listen to this and go through and pause it, and you can create your own plan as well. Give yourself some time to do this. If you've never done it, I would say give yourself the month to plan for the whole year, especially if you have other demands. Now, if you could just pick up and go to a hotel for a few days or go across the country, then by all means have at it. Today is Friday that I'm recording this. My daughter has a basketball game on Tuesday. My son has a basketball game tomorrow. So I'm not able to just pack up and go for days because I have mommy duty and sports mom duty, right? But so that's why I'm giving myself the time that I need to do it. And I'm not going to rush it. And I don't suggest that you do either. So I hope that this was beneficial for you. These are the keys to planning your 6-figure year. These are the keys to planning your $1 million year. And while I don't guarantee specific outcomes, I do know that if you plan, you will be a lot more prepared and a lot less stressed, and you likely stand to see better results than you have in previous years. Thank you so much for tuning in to into this week's episode. Our next episode, I'm going to be sharing with you how to make sure that your 2026 coaching selections are assets and not liabilities. And I look forward to seeing you there. And as always, share this out, leave a review below, and subscribe. Let us know how this podcast is helping you become published and paid. Until next time, Peace, love, and impact, and I will see you on the next episode. Welcome to the Published and Paid podcast, where we share book, business, leadership, and life lessons in 20 minutes or less to help you build a thought leadership brand and business. My name is Jasmine Womack. I'm a former middle school language arts teacher turned 7-figure entrepreneur, and I am glad that you are here. Let's get started.